Take it off, the host demands, his voice cutting through the studio like a knife. Take off that mask of fake Christianity you're hiding behind. The audience holds its breath, waiting for Karoline Leavitt to crumble under the pressure. But Leavitt doesn't remove anything. Instead, she adds layer upon layer of authenticity, wisdom, and unshakable faith. What unfolds is a verbal chess match where the pawns are principles and the king is truth itself. By the end, you'll be left wondering who was really wearing a mask all along. The studio lights cast an unforgiving glare on Karoline Leavitt as she sat across from her interrogator. The atmosphere crackled with tension. Millions of unseen eyes fixed upon this moment. The host's demeanour shifted subtly, his friendly facade cracking to reveal a predatory gleam. He leaned forward, eyes narrowing, ready to pounce. "Miss Leavitt," he began, his voice dripping with false concern, "how do you reconcile your political actions with the teachings of Christ?" The question hung in the air, a poisoned dart aimed at her heart. It was a classic trap, designed to corner her, to force her into a defensive position where any answer would seem inadequate. The host's strategy unfolded with practiced precision. He began to recite cherry-picked Bible verses, carefully selected to paint Leavitt as a hypocrite. Each quote was a carefully honed weapon, meant to chip away at her credibility and faith. The studio audience held its collective breath, anticipating her stumble, her moment of weakness. Leavitt's pulse quickened beneath her calm exterior. She'd faced challenges before, but this was different, a direct assault on the very core of her being. The host's aggressive questioning techniques created an environment where she felt cornered, pressured to respond in a way that could be easily twisted and misrepresented. But something unexpected flickered in Leavitt's eyes. Not fear, but a quiet determination. As the barrage of loaded questions continued, she remained still, her composure a stark contrast to the host's growing agitation. The audience, primed for a spectacle, found themselves witness to an unexpected display of grace under fire. The host, sensing that his carefully laid trap might not spring as planned, pressed harder. He employed rapid-fire questioning, barely allowing Leavitt time to breathe between his pointed accusations. His dismissive remarks grew more blatant, each one designed to provoke an emotional response that could be used against her. Yet Leavitt's calm demeanour held firm. She sat straighter in her chair, her eyes clear and focused. The tension in the studio shifted, no longer emanating solely from the aggressive host, but now radiating from Leavitt herself, a quiet, powerful force that commanded attention. As Leavitt opened her mouth to speak, the air in the studio seemed to change, charged with an energy no one had anticipated. The host's smug expression faltered, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. He had expected defensiveness, perhaps even anger. What he saw instead was a woman grounded in something far stronger than mere political maneuvering. The tension in the studio crackled like static electricity, but Karoline Leavitt's voice cut through it with clarity. "Let's talk about what it truly means to live as a Christian in today's world," she began, her words a gentle rebuke to the host's aggressive stance. Leavitt chose to share her story, speaking of her time at St. Anselm College. She recalled writing op-eds defending policies she believed in. "Each word was a wrestling match between my convictions and the complexities of governance," she admitted. The host attempted to interject, but Leavitt's authenticity commanded attention. She painted a picture of faith as a living force guiding her through public service. "Christianity isn't a shield to hide behind or a sword to wield against others," Leavitt explained. "It's a compass that points us toward integrity, even when the path is unclear." She spoke of nights spent in prayer, seeking guidance on issues that defied easy answers. As she addressed the supposed contradictions between her faith and politics, the audience leaned in, captivated. "Living as a Christian in politics isn't about adhering to a simplistic narrative," Leavitt continued. "It's about navigating complex moral challenges with humility and grace." She shared anecdotes from her journey, moments when her faith had been a source of strength in the face of criticism and doubt. The host's aggressive posture began to soften as Leavitt's sincerity shone through. She wasn't merely defending herself, she was inviting everyone present into a deeper understanding of faith's role in public life. Her approach echoed strategies of other political figures who had successfully addressed challenges to their faith, framing her beliefs as an integral part of her commitment to service. As she concluded, Leavitt turned the question back on her interviewer. "I wonder," she mused, her tone curious rather than confrontational. "How do you see the role of faith in public service? What guides your moral compass when faced with difficult decisions?" The question hung in the air, a challenge wrapped in an invitation. The host, who had entered the interview ready for combat, now found himself on unfamiliar ground, faced with a demonstration of faith that defied his preconceptions. The atmosphere in the studio shifted, electric with anticipation. Karoline Leavitt's gaze, once steady and calm, now held a fire that made the host visibly uncomfortable. She leaned forward, her voice cutting through the tension like a beacon of truth. "Let's examine the real issue at hand, the media's attempt to dictate faith," Leavitt began, her words measured but powerful. The host's eyes widened, realizing too late that he had severely underestimated his guest. Leavitt methodically unpacked the calculated nature of the host's attack, exposing the tactics employed not just in this interview, but across the media landscape. She spoke of a systemic problem threatening honest public discourse. "Time and again we see religious politicians portrayed in a negative light," Leavitt explained, her voice steady. "A recent study found that 65% of news articles focusing on faith are critical or question the sincerity of believers in public office." She paused, allowing the weight of this statistic to settle. "This isn't just about me. It's about a pervasive bias that undermines the voices of millions of Americans." The host attempted to interject, but Leavitt's momentum was unstoppable. She delved into specific instances where media figures had twisted religious principles to fit political agendas, drawing stark parallels to the current interview. "The notion that authentic Christianity can be defined by political alignment is not only misguided, it's harmful," Leavitt asserted. "Our faith is diverse, complex, and deeply personal. It's a compass that guides us through the complexities of governance, not a tool for political manipulation." The host's earlier confidence crumbled with each passing moment. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat, the weight of his miscalculation evident in his furrowed brow. Leavitt's analysis extended beyond her personal experience, touching on broader issues of religious freedom and media responsibility. She highlighted the complex relationship between faith and politics, citing a recent Pew Research Center survey. 56% of Americans believe that religious beliefs should influence political decisions, while 42% argue that faith should remain separate from politics, Leavitt stated. She allowed a moment for reflection before continuing. "This divide shows the nuanced nature of this issue. It's not black and white, and it deserves more than gotcha questions and sensationalized headlines." As Leavitt neared the conclusion of her response, the studio fell into a hushed silence. The host, once smug and confrontational, now appeared small and unprepared. "What we need is a more nuanced, respectful dialogue about faith in the public sphere," Leavitt declared, her voice filled with conviction. "We must challenge the double standards applied to people of faith in politics and recognize that true Christianity is about living by conviction, not fitting into a mold dictated by opponents or media narratives." As Leavitt's words faded, a profound silence engulfed the studio. The host, once smug, now sat visibly shaken, his strategy in tatters. This moment of moral reckoning had exposed the superficiality of attempts to dictate faith's expression in the public sphere. The cameras lingered on Leavitt's face, a beacon of quiet strength amidst the chaos. Viewers witnessed the power of authentic faith withstanding the harshest scrutiny. The studio atmosphere transformed as the audience's perception shifted from skepticism to admiration. Integrity had triumphed over manipulation, reinforcing that true conviction, expressed with grace and wisdom, could cut through political noise and touch hearts.